Every evening at 6 o'clock, I call my children to the table for dinner. Almost without fail, by 6:05, at least one of them will have complained about the meal that I've prepared. Does this sound familiar? Kids are picky. That's not a secret. And in our family of 6, it's a rare event that I make a meal that everyone loves every part of. I have one child who will not touch rice, one who will only eat potatoes if they're mashed, and another who likes the taste of mashed potatoes, yet can't stand the texture. In our family, though, if you don't like what's on your plate, you don't have to eat it. Giving them the power to make their own decisions about whether or not they're going to eat what they're served has not caused them to only eat pizza, chicken nuggets, macaroni and cheese, and cookies, although those are definitely crowd pleasers at our house, but instead has made mealtimes much less stressful and helped them to be willing to try new things that a lot of kids won't touch. My children eat lots of fresh fruit, vegetables, and try to ask new things and ask to try new items that they find at the grocery store on a weekly basis. Last night, they had honey lime salmon, roasted asparagus, and couscous for dinner, and 3 of them asked for seconds. My 5-year-old begs me for homemade chicken and wild rice soup. My 7-year-old loves anything with pesto on it. And my 2-year-old eats curry in a way that makes my husband beam with pride. Much as allowing my children to be in charge of their own appetites has helped them to develop healthy eating habits and reduce the dinnertime stress at our house, compelling children to eat everything that's put in front of them, rather than helping them, can have adverse reactions that have the potential to stay with them throughout their lives. Can you imagine a world where someone else prepares all of your meals, puts them in front of you when they feel that it's time for you to eat, and tells you that you're required to eat everything on the plate, whether you like the item or not, even if you're not hungry? That is the world that our children live in. When children are forced to eat, rather than being given the same opportunity as adults have to choose what to eat or when to stop eating, it makes mealtimes unpleasant for everyone. This can lead to meals being a chore for the family, rather than a pleasant time to share together at the end of the day. Mealtimes should be happy times. In our home, it's frequently the only half hour of the day that we're all able to spend together. My kids are still pretty young, ranging in age from 2 to 8 years old, and I know that as they get older and more involved with extracurricular activities, church functions, and so on, that our time together around the table will become more and more precious. It's so important to set a precedent while they're young, that the table is a place for talking together, laughing, and enjoying your meal while enjoying the company of loved ones. Ann Fischel, co-founder of the Family Dinner Project and a clinical psychologist, teacher, and family therapist, says, over the past 15 years, researchers have confirmed what parents have known for a long time. Sharing a family meal is good for the spirit, the brain, and the health of all family members. Recent studies link regular family dinners with many behaviors that parents pray for: lower rates of substance abuse, teen pregnancy, and depression, as well as higher grade point averages and self-esteem. Studies also indicate that dinner conversation is a more potent vocabulary booster than reading, and the stories told around the table help our children to build resilience. Being forced to repeatedly eat a food that's particularly unpleasant to them can cause children to develop a lifelong aversion to that food. I cannot even begin to count how many times as a child I was told that I was not leaving the table until my plate was empty. I remember sitting alone in the kitchen for hours some evenings, partially because I was stubborn, and partially because I did not like the offending piece of food that was on my plate, or simply because I was full. These evenings inevitably ended with one of my parents finally coming back to the table and physically feeding me the remainder of my meal. You can imagine that a food that you think tastes bad to start with is exponentially worse after sitting in front of you all evening. As an adult, I still cannot bring myself to eat many of these foods that I found so offensive as a child. This is a big part of why I've chosen not to force my children to eat if they choose not to. I want them to have a much healthier relationship with food than I do. This does not, however, mean that I'm a short order cook. They know that the food placed in front of them is what is available. They have the choice to eat it or to wait until the next meal. While parents and caregivers most likely have their children in mind when requiring them to eat everything that's served, it's actually teaching them bad eating habits. Being forced to eat can lead to an unhealthy view of food. Gunborn Palme, a certified psychologist and psychotherapist, says, if the parents or custodians of a child force the child to eat, they will not help the child to be responsive to its real bodily needs. The child does not learn to recognize its real feelings of hunger and satisfaction. This can, later in life, cause eating disorders. Lori Bowers, an RN at the University of Rochester Medical Center, says that the practice of forcing children to clean their plates can encourage them to develop bad eating habits, such as eating when they're not hungry. It can also lead to a distaste for those nutritious foods they're being forced to eat. This has the potential to lead to lifelong weight issues. Julia Moravsik, PhD, author of Teach Your Child to Love Healthy Food, says, children are more in touch with their natural appetite than adults are. Eating when they aren't hungry can feel disgusting or even painful. Respect their natural sense of hunger. If your child can maintain this natural sense of eating when he's hungry and stopping when he's not, he will have a powerful weapon against a culture of recreational eating that he will encounter when he's an adult. One of the most common reasons that children don't finish their meal is simply because we're giving them too much food. This often starts in infancy, when we encourage a baby to finish a bottle or to eat the last few bites in a jar of baby food. We are, in essence, teaching them to ignore their body's natural cues to stop eating when they're full. I encourage you to become better informed about the appropriate serving sizes for the children that you're responsible for. For example, did you know that the appropriate serving sizes for a toddler are 1/4 of a slice of bread, 2 tablespoons of vegetables, or 1 ounce of cheese or meat? Or that a balanced lunch for a 5-year-old is half of a peanut butter sandwich, half of a cup of applesauce, and 6 ounces of milk? As you can see, while we may think that we're helping our children by ensuring that they eat properly when we make them eat everything that's put in front of them, we're actually doing them a disservice. I hope that I've been able to encourage you to reconsider the approach that you take with your children at mealtimes. You can make your home a happier place and teach your child a healthy eating habits by making the dinner table a happy, stress-free place, allowing your children's appetite to govern how much or how little they eat, and by educating yourself about the dietary requirements of the children in your care. Thank you.